What's up, gang? Welcome to the Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius and Mirshahzadeh. I'm so pumped to have you here with me. Now listen, the Greatness Machine, we're about two things. Number one, people who are living their passions. And number two, those who are creating greatness in the world and doing both of these things despite the odds against them. Each episode, we're going to feature interviews with game changers, business leaders, telling us their origin stories, what made them tick, what got them to where they are now. Why? So it can help you step into your greatness within your life, your business, and your career. Occasionally, you might hear a few solo episodes from myself, moi, as I say, as I leverage my 20 years of entrepreneurship as a CEO and founder to help you grow and level up in your journey to scale your life and your business. So, come be a fly on the wall, enjoy the conversation, and I'm stoked to have you here with me. Guys, welcome to today's episode of The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius and Mirshahzadeh, and boy, do we have special guest. Elsa Moreck is in the house. What's up, Elsa?
Hello.
How are you doing today?
To be here. I'm great. I'm in El Paso, Texas, which is not where I usually am in the world, but I'm visiting my family. So I'm out here staying out of the UV. The UV is super strong here.
Is your family live in El Paso, or are they just like, what's the story about El Paso?
They do. Right. So my immediate family lives here, like my mom and my dad, two of my sisters, but I live in Austin, Texas. So I'm just here for a visit.
Did you ever live in El Paso growing up?
I lived here for 9 months. It was way too sleepy for me. Sorry if anyone's from El Paso, but it was just way too sleepy for me. And I had to go. It was not a vibe.
Okay. I
love the mountains. It has beautiful mountains, beautiful sunsets. I appreciate a lot of things about it, just not to live. Yeah,
you can go to Juarez if you want. It's right across the border.
Yes, exactly.
My wife's family's from El Paso. That's why I asked.
No.
No.
I just talk shit about it.
Oh no! Listen. So I'm from California originally, and my wife's Mariah, and Mariah grew up in El Paso, and she left and moved to California. She went to college. She actually moved to Mexico and went to art school in Mexico. Then she went to school back east, and then she moved to California. And so this is probably, we were talking about this, by the way, audience, before the show started. We're talking about how long we've both been in Austin for 8 years. So go me and Elsa. And so I started coming to Austin in 2005 because my wife's mother, my mother-in-law, moved here in 2001. And her dad grew up in Austin. So she's got deep roots in Texas. And so I started coming to Austin. I grew up in Southern California. I lived in San Francisco for 17 years. But This is I'd been living in San Francisco at that point for a couple of years. This is my girlfriend. I'm coming to Austin to go here for Thanksgiving. And I'm like, oh, this is a pretty cool city. This is literally 20 years ago. And I was in my early 20s. And so I, after a few years, we had our first kid, and my mother-in-law starts putting on the full court press, you guys should come look at houses, and this is 2008, 2009. And I was and you can imagine, it was a cool place then too. It's not as cool as it is now, but it was cool then. I was and it was for a third of the price of San Francisco.
Yes, yes, it does have that going for it, for sure.
Yeah, less now than then. It was then. Yeah. It was, and so it took me a few years. I almost moved here in 2013, and then I moved here in 2017. And my wife was kicking and screaming the whole way coming back to Texas.
So okay. She was really happy in California.
Oh, she was so against it. We lived in Oakland at the time. She's like, I promised myself I would never move back to Texas.
Wow.
So that's a long-winded way of me saying you did not offend her by talking shit on El Paso.
Okay, good. Yeah. It's a tough place. I think it works for a very specific context of people.
Yeah,
not if you're single and in your 30s. For those of them, I don't know what age range are your listeners usually.
Yeah, they're probably in their 30s to 40s to 50s, that wide range of entrepreneurs. But look, I don't think that would be a hot spot for dating. If I was a single dude.
No.
So anyhow, well, you guys, so Elsa is, we're going to be talking about this. She's a men's dating coach, expert in dating. And I stumbled upon, I don't remember if were you on a School of Greatness by chance?
No, we know him. He's a friend, but no, not my friend. He's a good friend of my husband's.
Somehow Elsa ended up in my feed, and I was like, oh my God, I love her work. This is so cool. And you guys know I'm selfish when it comes to the show, and I always invite awesome people on, and most of it's that I see them somewhere in the world. I'm like, I want to meet that person. So the team started hitting up Elsa's team, and here we are. So welcome to the Greatness Machine. So grateful to have you here today. Really pumped. So, guys, I do want to go over Elsa's formal bio, and then we're going to get into her origin story. So, Elsa is a men's dating coach, as I mentioned, author of the best-selling book Dating for Men, and founder of the School of Modern Dating. I'm assuming, I looked at your bio on LinkedIn a little bit, and I was like, how does one become a men's dating coach? It was just like I looked at your like kind of like your story, and I'm like, yeah, I don't see the line. I like it. It's not popping out to me like what the path was. So I'd love to hear some of your origin story. I know we talked a little bit about your family living in El Paso, but give us some of your origin story. How did you get to where you got to?
Yeah, that's probably the top question that I get when people hear what I do. So I've answered it in probably no less than 1,000 ways, but I'm excited to take a new stab at it. I grew up all over the world. So my parents are both Lebanese, but I grew up across the US, Lebanon, and Japan. So three vastly different cultures. I was always the bullied one in every place that I moved to. But when I was in middle school in Japan, I made a very conscious decision to become popular. It was a very important thing to me. I was so tired of being pushed around by the world. Ever since I was a little kid, I always felt misunderstood, pushed around, rejected. And I got really interested in how to do that. Like, how do you become popular when you don't look like the people who are popular? So the school that I went to, the popular girls were Korean, Chinese. I mean, it was Japan. So the popular women were East Asian normally. They were not Middle Eastern. And I was one of the very few Middle Eastern people at my high school, actually. So anyway, I'm like, how is someone who's got this thick unibrow, this big curly hair, this like long nose, like how is someone like me going to be as desirable as these like Japanese girls with their perfectly straight hair and their little button nose, and these Filipino girls and these Korean girls? Like, I look nothing like them. My body's not like them. My hair's not like them. My face is not like them. But I was determined. And so I had to work with what I had at the time. And what I had at the time was the ability to change my personality. How do you become confident? How do you become funny? How do you dress well? How do you make people feel good about themselves when they're with you? I don't think people realize how much of dating is just making the other person feel good about themselves when they're around you. And I got really, really good at becoming popular. So my freshman year of high school, I got a little too popular, actually, and I started partying a lot, and it came back to my parents. My parents are very traditionally Lebanese, so everything was off limits. But because I had built up such a reputation, there were like literally kids from other schools talking about me to kids from other schools, and somehow that would get back to my parents because, it's like we all live on bases. So I lived on a military base in Japan. There were other schools that were like a Navy base and an Air Force base. So it got to the point where like my reputation preceded me, even though I, again, did not look like any of the girls that were typically the popular girls. And when you start to gain status in high school, like you just become more attractive to guys. Even if you weren't like what's typical, when you start hanging out with the popular girls, you start to talk like them, you start to dress like them, you start to eat like them. And within, a certain amount of time, you start to attract guys like them. And so that was very informative for me very early on in life. I never would have expected that it would have led to an entire career later on. I was just trying to survive, honestly, and belong. But when I entered college, I kind of had another huge culture shock because I moved from Tokyo back to Beirut, and it was a completely different culture. And all the things that made you popular in my school in Japan were the exact same things that would make you an outcast in my university in Lebanon. So I felt like I was a kid learning how to walk again. All my same tricks were just not working. And so I had to yet again reinvent myself to figure out what works in this environment in order to be influential and make what you want happen. Because one of the things that I love about teaching people dating is I'm really just teaching them to be more influential, teaching them how to be better at negotiating, networking, and really just getting what you want out of life. So that was a whole other, 4.5 years of reinventing myself and doing the whole process all over again. And to kind of sum it all up, when I graduated university, I tried to do the whole regular corporate route. I was so miserable. It was just so not my personality. And when I determined that I did want to be an entrepreneur and I wanted to get into some type of coaching, some type of like helping other people, this was kind of just staring me in the face. I was catching up with an old friend. He was telling me, when you catch up with your friends, like, what are the things that you usually talk about? You usually talk about your work and your love life. Those are the kind of things that people talk about when they haven't seen each other in a while. So, he's telling me how work is going really well, but his dating life sucks. He really likes this girl, but she's not responding back to him. I'm telling him my dating life is easy and fun and predictable as it usually is, but I have no fucking clue what I'm doing with my career. And he's like, well, then why don't you just become a dating coach? I genuinely think he was joking. It's just so long ago, but I genuinely think he was just joking, to make light out of a ironic situation. But he planted a seed, and that seed grew. And even though at the time it sounded really ridiculous, I came back to it years later because I was looking at how I spent my time, and I was looking at how people utilized me in connection to me. And I realized a lot of people who don't know me that well reach out to me asking for dating advice. And I feel like I should be charging for this. Like I'd be at a party and, I'd get into a conversation with someone and I'd give them all these great tips. And then they'd get my number, and like a few weeks later, they'd follow up with me. And then after a while, I just kind of noticed the pattern. And I'm like, I think I actually have a knack for this. So I got into, I got a life coach accreditation, got officially like certified as a life coach. And then I niched it down into dating because that's just the area that I've always been pretty good at.
I love it.
Yeah.
I have a few thoughts. So I'm going to go back to junior high.
Sure.
So I think that God likes to fuck with Middle Eastern kids, right? so like I grew up half Middle Eastern, right? Like curly hair, like to your point, like look like I grew up in total Whiteyville, and in like Orange County, California, where like it's exactly what you would expect stereotypically. And me and my brother just didn't look like anybody, and we got fucked with. And so we were like, I think like God does that to make us stronger, right? And we were like, and I had the same goal. When you said it, I'm like, oh, that was my goal. I'm like, I'm just gonna win all these people over, and I'd probably beat a couple kids' asses to like, so they wouldn't, because guys are different. Because guys,
you earn your respect differently.
Yeah. You have to at least get into like a fight, maybe. Maybe it's different now, but this is like the 90s, and so. But I got a little sister that's same, and I'm like, yeah, like the Middle Eastern kids, like it's like unibrows and we look different, and like I'm like, and here's the punchline is we grow up and we're hot.
It's true. It's true. I think it's because your features are too big for your face as a Middle Eastern kid. Like it takes a second for everything to settle.
Yeah.
Like my hair was really big. I didn't know how to take care of it, so it was just like this big poof. Same with the eyebrows, like same with the nose. Like my face was really skinny, so my nose really stood out. But then as you get older, like your features kind of just balance out, and then you look amazing because you've got way more melanin, than the whiteys, so you're not aging as fast. And then you've got that amazing hair. No, but it's true. Then you've got that amazing hair that's not thinning out, so it pays off later.
Yeah, look, I'll be 47 next month, and I'm like, I look way better than my friends who are 47, and I'm like, because of the melanin, right? And I'm like, oh, like I'm not white, I'm brown. So anyway, I'm like, jokes on all you. Anyway, when you said that, I just thought of all my friends who are Middle Eastern, all the Middle Eastern women I saw growing up, and I'm like, they're all like gorgeous now. I'm like, oh, jokes on everybody else, but that's so interesting. That's so interesting. Like, and it's such a cool path for you to like figure out your talents. And so, having now become this expert in men's dating, one of the like thoughts I have, and like I actually give a lot of advice to people both in business and my friends who are single. And I've been married now for I guess it'll be 18 years, and I've been with my wife I've been with my wife for 23 years. So I'm far from single, right? But I watch people behave, and I'm a person kind of like yourself, where I'm like good at winning people over, and I'm like, and one of the things I always tell them, I'm like, look, you just have to like confidently be yourself.
Yep.
And like own it, like and like not, and obviously there's books like The Game, and there's ways to manipulate to get laid and stuff like that, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like really meeting people to like show up to like want to be around you. Like, what are your thoughts on like that's Darius's advice 101?
Yeah, I think the problem with the just be yourself advice is some people, this is going to sound unkind, but some people shouldn't be themselves because who they are in their who they are in the current form is not pleasurable to be around. Like I have had friends over the years who are terrible at maintaining eye contact, who are so bad because they just interrupt you mid-sentence. They talk too much about themselves. And they're like selfish and they have all these like little anti-charismatic behaviors where it's like, I'm actually not going to tell you to be yourself because who you are in your current form is not very charismatic. You might attract a few people here or there, but you're not going to be consistently making the kind of impressions that you want to be making. And I have friends who are like a little bit too emotional, where it's like, they meet someone and like immediately after the date, they're sending them a newspaper. And it's like, oh, well, I'm just being myself. Like I'm sharing how I feel. It's like, yeah, but
dial it
a bit
back.
too much too soon. Yeah. So I think the just be yourself advice is tricky. I think that also the other part of what makes that advice tricky is that I don't know if you've been married for 23 years, so this is probably like not an easy thing for you to connect to as an example. But if you've ever talked to one of your single friends who around you is very funny and very relaxed, put a very hot girl in front of him that he is super attracted to, see how he acts. It's not the same. Like the way your brain functions when you are in the presence of someone that you're extremely attracted to, you just don't show up the same. Unless you've had a lot of reps and you've gotten really comfortable, it feels like public speaking. It feels like all of a sudden you went from standing on a stage with no one behind the curtain to now there's 1,000 people staring at you. Like your energy, everything just changes. Your body literally starts to pump cortisol. You start to get adrenaline. Your palms start sweating. Like your body responds in a way where it's perceiving a threat. And so the other challenge with just be yourself is, if I tell you to approach a really hot girl at your gym and you're just going with I'm just going to be myself. And then you walk up to her and your mind goes completely blank. That's not going to work.
No.
And so that's why I think it's tricky advice. I think for someone who is charismatic naturally and good with people naturally, that's good advice. But otherwise, I think people need very tangible, practical steps to take.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So funny enough, I'm like, that's how I am, right? Because I'm like high charismatic, high EQ, know to ask people questions and make them feel good. So I'm giving my own advice, right? Which to your point, I'm like, that's not normal, right? That's abnormal probably. But that's good. And I have a twin brother, by the way. My twin brother's single.
Oh, nice.
And he crushes, right? Like he's he's really, really good with women. And so I watch him. And he's this, we share a lot of the same qualities. And he just says, when you were talking about a hot girl walking up, I'm like, oh, Mike would say some fucking ridiculous thing that she would never hear a guy say unless he was super confident, right?
And it would work.
Yeah, it's stuff where I'll hear him say, I spit fucking water out of my mouth. I'm like, did you seriously just say that? And it's like, I don't give a shit. It's funny and it's cute and he doesn't give a shit. And he's like, he's no freaking Brad Pitt, but it doesn't matter. He's high confidence, right? So like, to your point, taking a step back, you're not gifted with high charisma. You're like a person that doesn't understand social cues or how to sell people or make them, and my brother and I are both hardcore salespeople. So like we are going to try to win.
Right. So you have that going for you.
Yeah. So if you don't have these skill sets or cues, you're an average person in some of these areas. Take a huge step back and say, okay, great. You built a methodology for a person, a man specifically, to go and get other people they want to date. What step by step, walk me through like your process. Like, what do you do to help these folks?
Yeah. So the first thing that we do is we actually pair them on a practice date. So by all purposes, it looks and feels and operates the same as a regular date. The difference is that I am watching the date. I no longer watch the date in real time because that used to be a little too nerve-wracking for people. But I set people up on dates and then I watch the recording. And I am looking for everything from tone, body language, ratio of asking questions to answering questions. Are they flirting? Are they not flirting? How are they presenting themselves? How do they like dress themselves? So that's the reason why that's the first thing I do, is because you can sit here and tell me these are the things that I struggle with, but we all have blind spots. And unless I see you in the game, I can't know what yours are. And you can't know what yours are because they're your blind spots. So when I pair these guys up with women, what happens is, first of all, the woman can see all the things that are obviously not working. In the real world, when they would go on a date, she would probably just say something to the effect of, I'm not feeling it, or, it was really nice to meet you, but I'm feeling more of a friend vibe, or just not answer at all. And then the guy never gets the feedback, because in his mind, he was like, I thought that date was great. Like, we talked for 3 hours. It's so funny because like they'll describe the date completely differently. Like if you were to talk to the guy, he would say that date was awesome. We talked the entire time. If you were to talk to her, she would say that date was so boring, but I can talk to a rock. So, I entertained him for 3 hours, but I couldn't wait to get out of there. And it's like when how you think you're being perceived and how you're actually being perceived, when there's such a big gap between them, the only way for us to close that gap is for us to see how that's going. So right off the bat, we do that date. It gives me a lot of data into how that person is. And we use that data to coach them in a very customized way for the rest of their time with me. For some men, they need to dial down the energy. They're coming off as a little bit too hyper, a little bit too intense. For other men, they need to like bring up the energy. They're coming off as too passive and like falling asleep on the girl. For some men, they need to talk more. For some men, they need to talk less. For some men, honestly, they just need to lose 30 pounds. Like it's different. It's different depending on like what your background is, what your path is, but we try to keep it pretty direct. And people are usually drawn to me because I'm direct. I'm kind about it. I'm never mean, but it's like my job is to tell you, here's exactly why it's not working. And it's such an aha moment for so many people.
So like on the personality stuff, so like I can get this. So we can dial back these different social behaviors, right? Or interactive behaviors or emotional quotient behaviors, right? Like that's what I'm hearing you say.
Yep.
And depending on the person, they're gonna like, there's either room for improvement or like they crushed it and they're good on that one. And there's like whatever that instinct to do what they need to do to get what they need to get from that interaction. But like, so when you said lose 30 pounds, like that one, I laughed because I'm like, what is it? Yeah. They just great personality, great social cues, ask good questions, but dude, like physically you're not your best and like you're just not going to get as hot of people as you want.
I mean, it makes a difference.
Of course.
It makes a difference because we're all visual creatures. I mean, we're all visual creatures. Even babies are visual. So it's like, yeah, we can pump up we can play up with your style. We can teach you how to flirt. We can teach you how to be. Here's the thing: losing 30 pounds does not automatically make you confident.
No.
But if you are confident and you lose 30 pounds, you will like crush it on a new level that you've never experienced before. And my job is to help men position themselves in the best possible way so that they can attract who they want, not just who they feel like they can settle for, but who they actually want.
So I'm just when you said the last thing, it got me. So how do you like tell a person they need to lose 30 pounds? I need to hear your line on this.
Yeah. I might say something like, so it's a 5 assessment category that we put them through when they're doing this date. It's actually called mating value score.
Okay.
So it's based on mate value from evolutionary biology. I just turned it into mating value score. Whenever I would hear people talk about mate value in podcasts, what kind of irritated me is that there wasn't like a simple way to memorize it. It was always this like long, drawn out, kind of vague way in which men and women judge each other. So I wanted to turn it into something that was like, okay, I can remember it. It's just 5 things. It's 5 categories. It's quantifiable. It's kind of like when you're working out at the gym and your goal is to bench, a certain amount of pounds. You're working towards something. I wanted to create something similar with your mating value, where it's like, okay, I know I kind of suck when it comes to flirting, but I'm really good at, I'm really strong. I've got great biceps. Like I've got that going for me. I know I'm really short, but I've got great skin and I'm really funny and I've got a great job and could provide for a woman if I met someone. So it's like I wanted to create an assessment that made that easy. So anyway, the 5 category assessment. One of the categories, there's 2 that have to do with your body. One is your protector score, which is very important. That's number 2 on the assessment. And then 1 is your presentation score, which is also very important. It's number 3 in the assessment. Protector, if you are like very overweight, you are not going to be able to protect her in the case of an emergency. If you can't like run or actually like get yourself out of a fight or whatever, like if you just look like you don't take care of yourself, then she is not going to feel safe with you. And that is one way that I deliver the feedback is like, what is your current fitness regime? Like, how do you take care of yourself? And if the answer is, I don't, then it's like, all right, well, we got to change that. Because if I'm showing the world that I don't take care of myself, then why would a woman want to take care of me? That doesn't make any sense.
Sure.
And then the other way of how I might say it when it comes to presentation, luckily I work with women who are also very direct. I have a lot of like Russian women who do these dates for me. I have a few Latinas, and like they're all pretty blunt. Like they're not, I think I've just like trained them in such a way where I'm like, look, if you don't tell it to him like it is, he's never going to know. Yeah. And so sometimes she'll say, look, you've got a really handsome face. You've got great hair and great teeth. If you would just lose a little bit of weight, I think that your features would really come out. Okay. And most men are receptive to that. And most men already know. Yeah. It's very rare. It's very rare that I have someone who's like very overweight who doesn't already know that that's there. but you'd be surprised. Sometimes they don't. I have had it where sometimes they don't.
Yeah, you're like, dude, get naked and go take pictures in front of the mirror, and then see who you're willing to show those pictures to. That's so interesting. So going to flirting, because I think that's something where I'd love to hear your thoughts on like what makes for good flirting. How do you teach it? Like I'm sure some people are naturally more flirtatious than others, but give us some feedback here.
I will say flirting is one of the hardest skills to learn, but it is one of the most important skills to learn. So I always tell people on Instagram who follow me, like, if you get nothing else from my videos, learn how to flirt, because it is by far, in my opinion, one of the most important dating tools for a man. Honestly, I might even go as far as saying it is the most important dating tool for a man. I just think it's so underrated. There is something about you being able to tease a hot girl, a woman that you're attracted to, that just completely disarms her. It takes her off autopilot, and it makes her, it's kind of like what you were saying about your brother. It's like the more ridiculous, the better. The more that she's just like, whoa, how are you so confident? And now that I like feel that you're so confident, I'm paying attention to you. And I'm like, well, what is making him so confident? Like, what is it? He's clearly so strong. And I think it always comes back to strength. I really do. I think that there is something very inherent about a woman feeling like at the end of the day, you've got a thicker backbone than she does.
Interesting.
And I think the stronger the woman, the more she looks for that. And it's one of those skills that is truly going extinct. I don't know if it's because of AI or because of COVID. Like, we didn't really associate with each other for 2 years. There is something about flirting that is just really getting lost. And I think it's unfortunate because it is one of the most important dating skills. Anyways, in terms of how I teach it, you probably know this. In order to tease someone, you have to be relaxed.
Sure.
Like that's kind of like step one. Like if I try to come onto this podcast and like rehearse jokes ahead of time and then try to say those jokes, they're not going to land. You're going to feel like something's off. So step number 1 is teaching men how to relax. So through visualization, through meditation, through breathing, just really teaching them how to relax. Step number 2 is exposure therapy. So my process is very interactive. I don't do like, talk at you videos for an hour where I'm just talking at you and you're hopefully listening. Everything I do is interactive. So if I'm teaching you the skill of flirting, I have hot women on the call that you're going to flirt with, and I'm going to give you feedback on that. And the reason for that is like, I would never teach you basketball through a Zoom call. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
It's like, we'd have to be together on the court. I would have to see how you're moving. I would have to see how you dribble. I would have to see how you shoot. It's the exact same thing with dating. Like, you don't date on Zoom, and therefore I have to teach you skills in real time that you can actually take with you out in the real world. So, I help them relax, and I do a lot of exposure therapy. Every time we do a live flirting workshop, it's very nerve-wracking. You're talking to these really attractive women. You're trying to make them laugh. You've only got a few minutes to do it. But what inevitably happens is that each time you do it, it gets easier and easier because your brain starts to realize that it's not that big of a deal. It's really not that high stakes. And so when you go out in the real world, one day it kind of just happens randomly for people where they suck, they suck, they suck, they suck. And then one day there's the hot girl next to them on the leg press and they're talking to her and they make a joke and she actually laughs and then he gets her number and then he walks away and he goes, oh shit, I just did that. Like I just flirted and it was easy. But it's because he's done it so many times and he's got the reps in and now his brain has kind of normalized it and he's relaxed enough to do it. We're all funny when we're relaxed. So much of what I do is helping people get the reps in. That way, when they're in the real world, it kind of just comes out of them naturally.
Yeah,
I also tell people, I'll stop there. I have so much I could say about this.
Yeah, so I actually have two questions on flirting. So there's this concept, the concept of negging, right? Like negging a girl.
Yes.
Like I'd love to hear your thoughts on negging, and then I have a question about laughter. But let's do negging first. Like, what are your thoughts? So first of all, tell the audience what negging is, just because you're a pro. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, and the best way I would describe negging is it's kind of a backhanded compliment. It's like a way to compliment her, but also take her down a few notches, take her ego down a few notches. So maybe it's something like, I made a video about this once where it's like, you're cute, but you seem like you're a little bit colorblind because red and green, I mean, those don't really go together. So it's like, I'm telling you that you're cute, but I'm also telling you that you don't really have good taste. You don't really have good style. And it's meant to balance out the compliment or something like, oh, you're a lawyer. All right. Okay. She's smart. But I bet that you are pretty argumentative too. And so it's just this balancing act of like, I am complimenting you, but I'm also letting you know that I don't have you on a pedestal.
Right.
And sometimes it can be a little more aggressive than that, where it's like really trying to bring her down. Like something like a really famous negging line is, you're not usually my type. You're not usually who I would go for, but you're cute. It's like, I'm telling you that you're cute, but I'm also letting you know you're not usually what I would go for. Right. So yeah, that's how I would describe negging.
So okay. So are you a fan of it, or do you think that it's like kind of too manipulative?
I think it depends on the man and the context. I had a client actually that I was speaking to recently who told me that he approached this model at a party, like she was very clearly a model, and he negged her and it worked really well. But he did it in a way that wasn't too aggressive. Like that last example that I used, he didn't go in that direction. But he was saying like pretty ridiculous things. He was making fun of her. And some of it was a little more aggressive than others. It worked really well. She was all about it. And in fact, as time went on and he became sweeter and sweeter, she kind of started to lose interest because what really drew her in the beginning was that like, that little mental game of always keeping her on her toes.
Yeah.
I think that if it feels authentic, it's fine. But if you're forcing it, like if you see a girl that you're attracted to and you're like, how could I give her a compliment but also take her down? That's too much effort for me.
Yeah,
to me, that's way too much effort. Now you're just missing the point. Like because it's people say, oh, you should neg so that you don't come off desperate. But if you're spending 5 minutes rehearsing what you're going to say so that it sounds like a neg, that is even more desperate.
Yeah, that sounds exhausting.
Yeah. Most guys don't like to do it. Most men I talk to don't like to do it because it doesn't feel good. It feels icky.
Yeah. Well, to your point, like it's got, I think there's this just goes back to my comment before on being authentic, where like, if you're confident and you're just fucking with someone because it's fun, because you really are having fun with them, that's different than like, I'm some fucking nerd that's like rehearsed my one neg line that, how far is that going to get you? Like, it's and going back to the girl that got bored with the other guy, it's like, I don't know, man, it sounds like I could not, again, it's not an issue I have because I'm married, but I couldn't even imagine having to sit there and fuck with someone to be with them.
Right.
I agree. I agree. That sounds terrible.
No, I usually teach men to be polarizing, but in a different way, in a way that's extremely authentic. Like,
sure,
we all, when we're talking to people, naturally disagree about things. And so one of the things that I like to break, one of the patterns that I like to break is the nodding head syndrome. It's like when you're on a date with someone and they're just nodding at everything you say. And it's like, okay, at some point I'm going to say something you don't agree with. And
Sure.
I would like you to just stop nodding and actually disagree. And so I teach them that because that's actually authentic. It's like she's going on and on and on and on and on about a movie, right? And you actually really don't like that movie. Or if
Yeah.
she's going on and on and on about astrology and you don't believe in astrology, it's like those are good opportunities to say, I don't see what you see in that movie.
Yeah. Like
It's a small thing, but it shows her that you're confident.
Right. That's like, hey, I think Forrest Gump's the worst movie ever. I actually don't think that, but I know people that do, and it's like, who doesn't like that movie? It's like, I don't.
Exactly.
But if you're simple-minded, you might like it. No, I'm kidding. So
that would be an egg.
That would be a neg. I just negged. Yeah. So there's a quote. It's funny. Like you do pickup lines on your social, and so there's actually a pickup line I heard someone else say that I wanted to get your thoughts on because I thought it was. I don't know if it's true, but you kind of alluded to it. So I'm gonna run it by you. Scott Galloway, Prof G, said this. So he said that if you can make a woman laugh, you can kiss her, and I'd love to get your perspective on that.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. If you can make her actually laugh, there's a fake polite laugh that women give when they're uncomfortable, and then there is a real gut belly laugh where she wasn't expecting it. She was completely overlooking you. You were maybe even invisible to her, but now you've got her actually present because you just said something that's fucking hilarious and you just interrupted. Because laughter is a pattern interrupt. That's what comedy does. It interrupts your patterns. And so now she's actually paying attention to you. 100%. I think that only leads to good places.
I love that. So one other question I had is, you teach men how to date, and I think that, as people age, they get more mature, they have a better understanding of who they are. Do you think these rules apply at all? If you're a man in your 40s dating a woman in her 40s, or a man in your 50s dating a woman in her 50s? Because I do think that there is a perspective that when people are younger, they don't know who they are, they're learning who they are. They maybe have more of an attraction for superficial perspectives because they actually haven't figured out like the deeper stuff that you figure out as you age. What's your perspective on this, like from an age perspective?
Yeah, I think the same. So here's what I'll say. I think that your values change in terms of what you're looking for. But I don't think that the skills required to attract someone with those values really changes all that much across time.
Interesting.
That's been my and my hundreds of clients that I've served experience. It's like women want to laugh with you, whether she's 25 or 55. Like she wants to feel at ease with you. She wants to feel desired by you. She wants to feel your strength. She wants to feel your confidence. Those things don't really change. Now, what changes is maybe when I was in my 20s, I was okay dating someone who had no career. Now I'm in my 50s. I want a woman who can intellectually spar with me. Or maybe in my 20s, I was fine dating a party girl, but now I want a woman who can actually, like live a healthy lifestyle and raise a family with. But how you get her doesn't change all that much over time.
Interesting. Okay. So I want to pivot to money, because I think that like there's this, I've seen this with people like especially with men, where they become more successful financially, they're more stable, but they have no game. And so like, because they actually leverage the fact that they are a financial success to like try to go and attract people. But at the end of the day, they strike out, or the people are just using them for money, or they have like a sugar baby or something. Like there's no real like substance behind it. Like what is your perspective around like how important is it that someone is financially successful? What if they're not? And when you see someone like the one I was just describing, like as a coach, like how do you approach that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Oof. Okay. So money is always going to make dating easy for you as a man. It's always not easy. Sorry. It's going to always make it easier for you. So if I take someone who's got money and someone else who hasn't got money, and they have the same exact personality, the person who's got money is definitely going to fare better. I'm going to sound brutal, but it's the same with beauty, right? If I take if I take two women, same personality, but one is really beautiful, one is conventionally unattractive, the attractive one is just going to do better. Like it's just going to be easier for her, right? Nothing else different. That being said, it's not enough. So, like you said, you could have money and still have terrible game. In fact, I think that is actually what's most often common is that, men spend so much of their 20s and 30s building their careers, and then they kind of wake up at 37 and they're like, "Oh shit, I want to get married and have kids." And then they try to translate what made them successful at work with a woman on a date, and she's like, "Yeah, no, thank you. Like, you're so
Mm,
boring." And so yeah, it doesn't equal game. You still have to work on the other skills. And I also think that the exception, it's not the rule, it's the exception. But a man who is very charismatic, very confident, has really good game, can do well with women in the short term without money. So I guess it depends on what you want, because there is such a thing as short-term dating strategies and long-term dating strategies. I
mm,
think the guy who's got a lot of game but not a lot of money can score out in the short term. He can score in the short term, but that gets old fast when a woman is trying to build something with you long term. And for the long term, it's much better that you have money. And if you can combine game with that, then you really set yourself up to have so many options. Like,
mm.
the abundance that's possible for you if you're a successful man and you've got good game. I mean, I see it all the time in my clients. It's like they already had the money part, now they get the game part, and then it's like the floodgates open.
Tell me about that. When you say they get the game part, is that someone where you kick in and you're helping them refine their game, or like tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's like I'm helping you. So again, first thing I do with people is I watch them on a date, and you come in, you're this high-powered CEO, but you are drilling this girl with question after question after question. You're not taking a breath. You're making really shitty eye contact with her. You're not flirting with her. She's trying to like give you opportunities to do that, but it's just flying right over your head. She's walking away from this date going, "Okay, I mean, he's cool. I don't really think I see a romantic thing, but he's cool." My job is to take that exact same interaction and turn you into someone who strategically pauses at certain ventures to make her feel that sexual tension. Someone
Mm,
who can make eye contact with her and actually hold it, because so much of flirting is also a nonverbal. So much of
right.
communication is nonverbal. And so when you can use your body to display dominance and confidence, she feels that. And that sexual chemistry in the room, that sexual tension in the room is what makes her go, "Oh shit, I definitely want to see that guy again." Because now she's
Interesting.
intrigued. And you
Yeah.
teased her, so now she doesn't think that you have her on a pedestal. She knows that you see her at eye level. You challenged her, right? You disagreed with her at certain things that she was saying. You actually taught her something new, which makes her feel like she can be led by you, right? That protector
Mm,
score, that provider score. Now she feels like I can actually like lean on this person. Now you've actually successfully made an impression. And you already got the whole job thing going for you. You've already got a nice place. You've already got a nice car. Now you can also appeal to her mental. And if you're doing that on every date that you go on, I mean, it's game over. Like, you just have so
yeah.
many options. So that's what I mean.
Okay, got it. So let's talk friend zone. What do you think are like the top 3 things men need to do to stay out of the friend zone?
Number one is you have to be honest with yourself about whether or not you actually want to be friends with a particular girl. So I say this to men all the time. I'm like, if you don't want to be her friend, then don't. I see a lot of men who think that like, "Oh, if I just, if you probably know this from sales. It's like, "Oh, if I make them like me enough, they'll buy from me." And it's like,
Yeah.
not really. Not really. You could have a great conversation with someone and then they could say, "Thank you so much for your time. I'll think about it." Right? And then
Sure.
nothing, no sale happened. So it's the same thing with being a friend to a woman. It's like, yeah, maybe it could turn into a romantic deal at some point, but not necessarily. If you didn't put her, I'm going to use sales terminology because I think dating and sales are so interrelated. If you didn't put her in a buying mindset from the beginning, it's
Mm,
highly unlikely that she is going to suddenly shift into that. So to put that in a very short and sweet way, like if you meet a woman and you're like, "She checks all my boxes, I'm really attracted to her," instead of saying, "Why don't we exchange Instagrams and hang out sometime?" Just be direct. Just say, "Well, hey, I really enjoy this conversation. I would love to get to know you over dinner. Could I get your number?"
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just be direct. Let her know that, like, I see you in a romantic context and I would like to take you out. That is way more likely to bring you success than, like, "Let me get your IG and we can hang out sometime."
Sure.
So that's step one is don't be the friend if you don't want to. And step two would be a lot of things that we've already talked about, flirting. So instead of just having a generic, where are you from? What do you do? How did you get into that? Oh, that's great. What are your hobbies? Instead, learn how to pair that with teasing and pausing and reading her body language. Something I love to teach my clients is how to read body language. So how to actually know what she's feeling about you, but maybe not saying, because people are so good at lying from, the neck up. We've all gotten used to fake laughing and whatever, but people's bodies are very honest. Our bodies always tell the truth. So when you learn how to read body language, it makes you ahead of so many people. So that would be number two, is learn good game, flirting, body language, how to actually lead a conversation into asking someone out. Third thing I would say, thinking of a client that comes up. I had a client 2 years ago who was, when he hired me, there was this girl that he really liked, but he was essentially her therapist and handyman. So she called him whenever she had a bad date and needed someone to talk to about it, or when something broke in her house and she it needed fixing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
like,
so this guy was just,
call a handyman.
I know.
Turn her off.
Poor dude had been like strung along. And I say strung along very lightly because he's not a victim. He allowed himself to be in this position. But he was like, for 2 years, just maybe not 2 years, but like it was for a long time, like a ridiculous amount of time, thinking that one day this would like turn into a romantic thing. And I'm like, hun, it's not happening.
No.
Like in your current state, she does not see you as that. She sees you as someone who's very convenient. You're saving her money every time you fix something for her, and you're giving her emotional, support whenever she's lacking that because of other men that she actually sees in a romantic context. Yeah. So one of the first things that I had to help him do was set boundaries with her and basically let her know, like, I'm just not really available to be your handyman and your therapist. Not in that language, but that was the heart of it. The heart of it was like, look, I'm attracted to you. I'm attracted to you. And I just don't really like our dynamic. This is just not this isn't really what I want. So unless you're available for something else, then I'd rather that we just don't spend time together. And that made her respect him. And what do you know? In a few weeks, they are actually going on a real date. So you gotta learn. And it did not end up working out with her for different reasons. What? Yeah. But still, like, he actually broke the pattern. And once he broke it once, he knew how to not fall in it again. Like there was another time during our tenure together where he started to kind of recreate a similar situation, but he was able to recognize it and be like, nope, I'm not doing that again. Like I know she's trying to put me in the friend zone. I don't want to be in the friend zone, so I'm just going to flat out reject it and just see what happens.
Yeah. So. With awareness comes choice. So that's good. Great coaching. Talk about body language. And do you have a few minutes to run over? Can we run over? Like, I think we have like 13 minutes left. Can you do that?
Yes.
Okay,
talk about body language?
Yeah. So I have a question for you. So on body language, you said that and anyone that has studied communication knows that most communication doesn't happen from what we say. It's how the nonverbal cues. What is like when you say like the number one thing someone should be looking for if they're reading for attraction or non-attraction in body language? What's the number one thing you want them to look for?
I would say proximity. Proximity,
like touching, leaning,
closeness. So if you are on a date with a woman and you're sitting at a booth, which you always should be, do not sit across from each other. It makes it so much harder to create touch. But if you're sitting on a booth next to each other and you are inching closer every few minutes to kind of see how she responds, if she moves away, very clear sign that she is, at least in this moment, not attracted to you. It could change, but right now she's obviously not feeling it. That's why she keeps moving a little more back. Another way to see how she feels about you in this way, it might actually be I said proximity and I still do stand by that, but the most honest body part is not the eyes, which everyone always says it's the eyes. It's not the eyes. It's actually the feet.
Wow.
So if you are, this is actually really fun and also kind of a mind fuck sometimes to do. But if you're ever in a group of people and you see, oh, it's uncomfortable, but I'm going to teach it to you anyway. Like sometimes I'll see people in a group and it's like a man and his wife, and like they're talking to a third woman, and the man's feet are completely pointed in the direction of the new woman. It's unfortunately an unconscious sign that he's really attracted to the other woman. So our feet always point in the direction of what we're interested in. And so when you are on a date with a woman, if her feet are pointing in your direction, especially if she's sitting in front of you, or even if she's sitting next to you, that's a great sign. If her feet are far away from you, that's also a sign that she's not very attracted to you. If you're in conversation with a woman, and this is actually really fun to see in real time when I teach my clients this, but one of my programs that I do is in person, and we do mixers. And one of the things that my clients have learned to look out for is where her feet are pointed during a conversation. So if you're talking to a woman and she has one foot pointed toward the door and one foot pointed toward you, it doesn't necessarily mean that she's not enjoying the conversation. It just means that she's starting to be ready to exit the conversation. That's why she's got one foot in that. It's called an indication cue. She's letting you know this is the direction that I want to go in now. So that's when it's a good time to start wrapping up the conversation. If both feet are headed in a different direction, that's your cue to just not even try. Like she's clearly fully checked out. Sometimes you can change someone's mind, and then you can see their feet shift as they become more engaged in the conversation with you. But I would say that that's the number one way to know is look at her feet.
Now, what if you're standing there talking to her? Same thing?
Same thing, yeah. So when you're standing and talking to her, if both of her feet are pointed in your direction, that's a really good sign. If she's got like one foot kind of crossed over the next foot, that's also a really good sign. It means that she's comfortable. Sometimes a woman will be standing like that, and then a guy will enter the picture, and then she'll uncross the leg. And what it means is that she's now uncomfortable. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It just means that you've just now made her uncomfortable. When you're talking to her, if it starts out that both her feet are pointed in your direction, but as the conversation goes on, one foot starts to turn in this direction, it's just a good idea to start to wrap up the conversation, because it means she's starting to check out. So rather than let it linger,
yeah,
just end it at a peak.
Yeah, end when you're at your high. I like that.
That's what I always tell people to do.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, okay, two more things, and then I want to make sure we plug all the amazing stuff. This is I love this show. This is just like you're such a badass. Like anyone that's looking to date needs to like connect with you. Actually, let's go there, and then I have two questions, and then we'll go to the greatness question. So, like you have obviously a book and a website, and people can work with you. How do people get in touch with you, Elsa? Guys, I have a couple really good questions, so do not get off this podcast if you're listening. But yeah, how do they connect with you?
Yes, I'll keep it short and sweet.
More? Yeah.
Short and sweet. So best place to find me is my Instagram at Elsa Moreck. Moreck is spelled Moreck. Elsa Moreck. I post tips every day. On my Instagram, there is a menu of options to work with me. If you're someone who just wants to commit to the full process, I have a program called Masculine Seduction. It's designed for nice guys who want to find their masculine edge. If you're more of a toe dipper, you just want to kind of dip your toes in, see how you feel, you can just buy a one-off ticket to one of my workshops. And otherwise, you can just follow me on Instagram and get to know me.
All right. So you guys who are not crushing it in the dating world, greatness people, go out there and sign up for everything Elsa has to offer, because God, she's dropping massive game knowledge on this show. I love this.
Thank you, Darius.
Yeah, no, this is like, I love this stuff. All right. So two things. So number one is you post a pickup line that you had on your social around someone like basically asking if someone was looking at them, and then when they're looking, yeah. So your pickup lines are like, I was like, that's legendary, and I loved it. And I actually did it with, I was screwing around with my wife, and I did it with her.
Nice.
So I'd love to hear like, what's your favorite pickup line?
My husband used a very simple one. He literally just said hi. But again, his 93% nonverbal was so strong that hi might as well have been like the most clever pickup line. It truly was. Like, it was just his entire body language was so confident and so dominant and so just relaxed. that it just immediately put me at ease. But if you're looking for something a little clever and different, I mean, the one that I shared in that video, I always stand behind. It's an OG. It's where you say, hey, I think we made eye contact. And if she says, no, we didn't, then you can say, well, we are now. I'm Darius.
Yeah.
What's your name? Right? Which is super smooth and super organic. And if she was looking at you and she goes, actually, I'm sorry about that, or whatever, then you can be like, well, great. So what's your name? Right? So either way, it's a win-win. But again, it does have to feel natural. I've seen it work really well with clients in the moment because it was true. Like we were on a call together and they were like, hey, this really cute girl's looking at me. And I'm like, all right, go. And so that it clicks. There's another line that actually came from one of my friends recently who's really smooth with women. He went up to a girl and he said, hey, you seem really nice and I'm new here and I'm looking for some friends. And that seemed to work really well because he wasn't really calling her hot. He was just saying, hey, you seem nice. I have given guys a version of that before. So like, hey, I like your energy, or like, hey, you have great energy. But it has to feel, again, like if nothing else, just keep it stupid simple. KISS. I love the acronym KISS, or keep it simple, stupid, whatever. I'm a huge fan of just like, hey, I'm Darius. You seemed interesting. I wanted to say hi.
Yeah.
Or just hey, I'm Darius. Like if nothing else, like if you're just completely blank, just be like, hey, I'm Elsa, and just see what they do. It works. Like it doesn't need to be fancy.
Well, I also think like right now we live in a world where people, and I mean, like I grew up like OG analog pre-internet, right? And like pre, social, and you had to go out and hunt in the wild, like that's, I met my wife off applying to be my roommate for through Craigslist.
Wow.
But I will say this, and you'll appreciate this. I made my ad super fucking funny. And I only would invite girls to be my roommates.
Nice.
And I ended up going on 3 dates.
Very smart.
Three dates, one of which became my wife. And it was like this super funny Craigslist ad with some guy talking shit.
Wow. See, I think that's actually brilliant because they're not even with you. Like they're not meeting you with the intention of dating you. So their guard is down.
Totally. That's
why
really
I don't like dating apps.
I was going to ask you that. So what's funny enough is that I was like, wow, this is a really interesting way to meet girls you want to date, because to be your roommate, they have to do the behaviors of a good roommate are the same as someone you want to date, except you're not trying to hook up with them. Everything's identical. Do we vibe? Do we like each other? Are they cool? And so I ended up meeting my wife out of it. And then my brother moved to San Francisco and I'm like, hey, and he bought a place. And I said, hey, you should always have an empty bedroom and you should always post ads for like a roommate. And he ended up dating girls out of it. So it did work.
That's a cool strategy.
It worked.
Yeah.
So you never know. I was going to ask you, like, look, there's a lot of people on the dating sites. I've heard some just dismal data around like 10% of the population gets 90% of the action. Yeah. And it's like, and so it's rough out there. Like what's your advice for men, like, given that that's the world we live in right now?
Totally. I've partnered with dating apps before, so I don't 100% disagree with them. I don't think that they don't have a place in the dating market. I see them as training wheels on a bicycle. It's like, if you are a guy who has no game and no prospects, I need something for you to start to gain some momentum. So it's a really great way to start to get some momentum. You go on these dates with women, they already know what you look like. You've already had a little bit of banter back and forth. And it's a really good way to kind of warm yourself up socially. And then as you get more confident, the natural progression of things is that you will wean off of dating apps. That's the progression I have seen out of like 9 out of 10 clients. There is that 1 out of 10 who actually do meet someone and end up hitting it off from a dating app. But most guys will start to kind of fizzle out of them once they gain the in-person skills. I do think they have a place in dating. I just don't think that they're meant to be your only tool to meet someone.
All right. You guys, you heard it here. You heard it here. Get off the dating apps and go hire Elsa. All right. So you ready for the greatness question?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. So what is the number one barrier to creating greatness that you've overcome in your life, and how'd you overcome it?
The number one barrier to greatness in life is victimhood in my experience. So life is going to, you're going to be put through experiences, both from your own doing and just because of circumstances and how life runs sometimes. And if you perceive, you always have a choice when something happens to perceive it as something that happened to you or something that happened through you. And in my experience, when you choose the latter, those lessons always turn into blessings. I've just seen it happen again and again and again, where I'll have a major loss and I will be so upset, but I'm somehow still able to keep perspective underneath the upset. Like there's just a voice that's like, it's okay. It's all happening for a reason. We're going to learn something out of it. We're going to be better because of it. And I feel like I've had that voice ever since I was a little kid. And it truly is what I believe has made me successful, is when shit happens, it doesn't really weigh me down that much. Like I go through it, I experience it, I feel it, I learn from it. And then the next time around, I'm like ready to fucking go. And I think when people are victims, they never grow. If everything and everyone is happening to you all the time, then you're stuck.
I love that. Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body, right? Feeling the pain body. And his perspective is be the observer of the pain body. Don't be the pain body. So I love your perspective. You are such a badass, Elsa. I'm so grateful having you here on the show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was awesome.
Yeah, so much gratitude. You guys, go out, check out. We're going to post all of her social, her website, my single Greatness Machine men out there. Like, I just gave you the best gift. So you guys need to go and work with Elsa and her team.
And ladies.
Oh,
ladies,
yeah.
I have ways I work with ladies too to support them.
All right. Let's do that. Until next time, everybody. Peace out. We love you. You are listening to The Greatness Machine, and that's a wrap for today. Listen, if you love what you heard, subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform that you're tuning in on so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. We have tons of great people coming on, and we're stoked to have you here to enjoy it with us. Leave us a review. Tell us what you love most about this particular episode. We love getting the reviews. We love to see what you guys love most. And if this particular episode, made you think of someone who's leveling up in their business and in their life, print screen, share it with them. Leaders are the best givers. And after all, we're all here to support and grow with each other. And in case you want to see some of the fun behind the scenes shots or some of the things that we're doing, I'm actually writing about this in my weekly newsletter. Go to www.therealdarius.com and subscribe to my newsletter. We're talking about fun things like business and life and mindfulness and cryptocurrencies and gosh, I don't even know, everything and anything, but it's tons of fun stuff I write about. I try to get it out on a weekly basis. You can subscribe at www.therealdarius.com. And with that said, look, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I love you. Peace. We're out of here. See you guys on the next one.
She's my lover.